Welcome in, everybody. Joe Quills here with you on this Wednesday night, another edition of the Joe Quill Show. And we're closer to the weekend, thank God. Hump Day is pretty much over. It's downhill to the weekend, and for me, a 3-day weekend, thankfully. But we'll see. We'll see what happens over the next couple of days here as we get closer to the weekend here. Oh, wait a second. Forgot to put that up. So, and I forgot to put. God damn it. 1 second. Let me see if I can fix this here. Those that are watching, they're going to be watching um, on the Bleacher Brothers YouTube. Um, the 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 it's going to be it's wrong. The description is wrong. I do apologize for that. I know I forgot to do something before the start of the show. Um, if I can figure out how to get it fix it on here. Let me see here. So we're doing a little bit of um, maintenance here. So 1 second here. Um, this is my account. I know this is great podcasting. I do apologize for this. Um, Let me see here. Let me see if I can find it here. Um, uh, 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 uh. Let me see here. Let me see if I can find it here. Details. There we go. Nope, that wasn't what I wanted to do, you dumbass. You can tell I love having it. You can tell the conversation I have with myself. But coming up on the show tonight, as you can see on the bottom of the screen here, Embiid may play in back-to-back games after all. I'll tell you what he said as well. The Vanderbilt quarterback was denied the next year of eligibility. I'll tell you what happened there. Aaron Rodgers may be playing next year. It may be just because the Jets suck. And the NCAA tournament, the basketball tourney may be expanding. Bank boy, welcome in. Just doing some maintenance here first. 1 second. Um, uh, Hope I did this right here. All right. So those that are watching on Bleacher Brothers, I do apologize. I don't have access to the Bleacher Brothers account on YouTube, so I can't change the settings here. I can't change um, uh, the information that I scroll on the bottom of the screen every night here. But I was able to change it on my YouTube. So we do have that fixed at least. So and finally, the NCAA tournament will be is potentially expanding. I'll tell you why it's not enough, in my opinion, for a fan standpoint and also some other standpoints as well here. But we'll get into that. And since the Eagles play tomorrow night, I gotta give you an Eagles pick because I pick all the Eagles games, whether I think they're going to win or lose. And I told you last week on last Thursday's show, I thought the Eagles game would be a real ugly game. Turned out to be a beautiful game for us Philadelphia Eagles fans as the Eagles blew them out. And one thing I will tell you, I will gladly pick against the Eagles if it means that the Eagles are going to win games. So let me just remind you of that. So um, I apologize. the caffeine didn't kick in tonight. But but um, yeah, right before the show started, and I do apologize for starting 10 minutes late. Wednesday nights we do have the Bleacher Brothers show on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, and other things. I'm probably going to upgrade my EV Mux, which is the program that I use to distribute outward. So probably after the new year, I'll do it. So I can do like to Facebook, to um, Bleacher Brothers Facebook and others, so we can get everything as close to possible that we can stream basically the same stuff because I mean I admit I'm a little bit of a uh, I do things a little bit differently with my Twitch because I with especially my Twitch because I stream to my Twitch and not the Bleacher Brothers Twitch, um, but that'll be something that'll be happening after the new year. So, and also come this Monday, I made the announcement last night. I will no longer be streaming to my personal X account or Twitter account. And once again, I will say it again. If you say it's because it's political reasons, go right ahead. I don't care. I know what the truth is. For $8 a month, it just wasn't worth it for me. So, and I went through everything last night. You can watch last night's show on Twitch and on YouTube. It's just that, it just, the check mark doesn't mean shit to me. More than 208 characters doesn't mean much to me. Just the streaming part is what, you know, it's the only reason why. And, since I probably don't see the chat morph into the chat that I see of all the different platforms that we stream to. So it's like, why am I wasting $8 on this? So that's the real reason why. So if you didn't see that announcement last night, that's the reason why. And if you want to say it's because of Trump and Elon, whoever, go right ahead. I don't give a shit. But I know the real reason why. I'd rather spend $8 on something else. So, but it's like buying something, getting a subscription to uh, Paramount, Paramount Plus, or uh, Amazon, or whatever. And after a while, you say, it's not worth it. Same thing here. So that's what I'm going to say. Uh, so uh, it is bustling in Twitch. It is also bustling on the Bleacher Brothers YouTube, and also um, I have somebody watching on X right now. Let me just do one thing. Uh, There we go. So I posted in the Bleacher Brothers chat if it goes through. Um, yeah, I don't know if it took or not, but whatever. Let me just check one thing here real quick. And I do apologize. No, it didn't take. There we go. There we go. So I posted that. I know why it didn't go through now. It's because I used more than 200 characters in the Bleacher Brothers YouTube. So anyway, so let's get to it here. Sixers are playing back-to-back nights here in South Philadelphia. They're playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are 12-0 right now. Sixers are down. They're down 4, 95-91. About 7 minutes ago in the fourth quarter. Um, but Joel Embiid and Paul George are both out tonight. Both are under load management. So Um, we'll see what happens with the load management thing all year. I think Paul George will be load managed all year. Joel Embiid is getting back to being old Joel Embiid, where he apparently does not want to be load managed or that much. Now, probably earlier in the year, earlier in the season, I would say I'm okay with it because of the fact that he's coming back from an injury. Um, he probably wasn't 100% at the Olympics, obviously. And, you could argue that he would, I mean, some people could argue that the injury was never an issue in October. It was the fact that he came in out of shape, and that may be the case. Who knows? But um, but I think that a lot of what they do is, they want to protect they want to protect their they want to protect their franchise, and um, you know he's he's more fragile than whatever fragile item you can think of. So, but but he wants to play in as many games as possible, and maybe he's going back to his old ways, and probably he sees it because the Sixers are 1-8, 1-9, whatever they are. But Embiid did play in his first game last night on those NBA Cup courts, which are ugh. But he finally took the court for the first time this season. He played 26 minutes, and the Sixers lost to the Knicks 111-99. Um, he was far from his best. He only made 2 of 11 shots from the field and finished with 13 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds. But that was expected last night, given he missed his first 11 games because of a combination of left knee injury management as well as injuries. So you know you can see why that they argue why he um, struggled last night. So um, so according to this writer, which I got this from SI because I saw it this morning, I shared it on my Facebook, and a lot of times, and I get one person that um, somebody posted a GIF on there. Nobody cares. Well, guess what? A lot of people don't care, but you know what? The only reason why I did is because for the exact reason that I share a lot of stuff on Facebook. And it's because it's something I may talk about on my show. So, um, so he took the court for the first time, as we know. Um, a slow ramp up was always expected for the superstar, but originally during training camp, Um, Embiid bluntly told reporters he did not expect to play back-to-back games uh, for the rest of his career, but it seems like he may have been hasty with that declaration. And now, surprisingly, he reversed course and said he was trying to convince the team to let him play on Wednesday night against the Cavaliers. And well, he was trying to, but he was scratched tonight. Embiid said to per ESPN, "I know I said I will never play back to backs, but I'm a troll," and he is. And he's funny on X, but then again, I haven't really seen him in action that much lately. So maybe he's just a troll behind the scenes and joking around and shit like that. But he's not. I think he is a troll, but he's our troll. So. Um, Now, keeping players out of one leg of a back-to-back set is common load management, a common tactic in the NBA. However, it's usually reserved for players who are a lot older than Embiid or players who have recently suffered some sort of serious injury. Embiid has a history of lower body issues and tore his meniscus in January, but is simply too important to the Sixers to be sidelined for a handful of games this year because they are on back-to-back nights. Um, it seems like Embiid realizes that much. Philly will be careful and want him healthy for the postseason above all, but now seems probable fans will see the center suit up more often than he previously indicated. So, but he was suspended 3 games. Was that for the? Okay, that's right. I was wondering why he got the 3 games because he also got a technical foul while an after the game technical foul for waving a towel when he was in Indiana watching the Sixers, their only win. So maybe Joel Embiid has to get a technical foul every game for the Sixers to win. But Sixers are within 2 right now. So, but maybe he needs to get technical fouls every game. Now, granted, it means he would get suspended, but I mean, you see a little pattern here. You got a technical foul, the Sixers won. He does not get a technical foul, they lose. But I don't know if it's Embiid being Embiid where he does not really want to do what management's telling him to do. If you remember, even his quote unquote rookie year and second year, and I use finger quotes on that because of the fact that he sat out 2 years with the Sixers. Um, but when you see, he was, he wanted to play more than the 20 or 24 minutes or whatever the workload management was during the process. Um, you did see that he was wanting to play more, and they still had the bubble wrap on him, so to speak. And I think that they want to try to bubble wrap him as much as possible here. But the thing is, you know, I mean, Paul George said yesterday or today or recently that if the Sixers, it's not about how we start, it's about how we finish, basically. Well, the thing is, and I say this all the time, um, whether it's baseball, whether it's football, whatever the pro sport is, the more you win earlier in the season, the less that you have to win in order to get a playoff spot. I mean, look at the Phillies. They won all those games in the first half of the year. Now, granted, they got cold in the second half. They caught a divisional rival in the divisional round again, but this time they were the favorites in the series and they lost to the Mets. But I think that but not only winning winning games early on, like for example, the Winnipeg Jets, who are 15-1 this year, the best start in NHL history. Um, you may see, um, you know, the one thing is they can afford to lose a game or two, and they can lose maybe 3 or 4 if they're way ahead in the division, or for home ice throughout the playoffs and the President's Trophy, which is the regular season trophy for best record in the league. You know, that's something that that's something that I would say to my team. I say, hey, listen, you don't necessarily need to win. Um, you don't need to. I mean, the more we win now, the less we need to win later. I mean, but granted, you want to keep winning, and you want to keep, you want to, especially going into the playoffs, you want to be on a roll in the playoffs, but you also want to be rested too. So, if you're way ahead in the division and way ahead for the top overall seed, it's like rest versus rust. So, but But the thing is, it's been a problem in the NBA for a while now, and I personally think, you know, I think the one thing that the NBA needs to do, and of course, this would be shot down by most people, and it's fine. Um, I would say the one thing I would like to see is that the training staff operated, is hired by the league itself and not by the individual teams. Because that way, that will stop in my opinion, that'll stop load management real quick because, then you get the report from the trainer where there is no injury, and, the reason why that the NBA frowns upon the load management is it happened for a while there where the top teams would load manage their teams when it would be a nationally televised game or when it's the only time that they go to a particular city. Like for example, let's say the Sixers are going to Denver. And this happened last year, but it was more but it was kind of injury, kind of not because we're like, is he really hurt? Is he not hurt? Joel Embiid did not play in the game in Denver last year. Then he played the next night in Golden State, the next night or next game, whatever it was, and guy fell on his knee, hurt, tore his meniscus. So, but um, but I would say that you want to stop the load management stuff. You do have to you do have to I would say that you use NBA employed trainers as opposed to team trainers because team trainers, in my opinion, can manipulate things. But that's just me. And and the one thing I'll say here, with my opinions, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So be it. But feel free to chime in. Chime in on X, on Twitch, on YouTube. Um, you know, let's have a nice conversation going back and forth. But but um, I just think that having trainers that are team oriented, that are team hires as opposed to league hires, even though technically, even though you're with the team, you're still also hired by the NBA. It just seems like it's more manipulative to have a team in the a team uh if you have a team trainer as opposed to a league trainer, you could say wink wink he's hurt. But it's but faking injuries is as old as time. But but the thing is, it's like, and it's only going to get worse because the players are going to get paid even more because of the new TV deal that comes into play next season. So that 65 million dollar contract, that's going to be 75, 80, 85. And, because the players get a piece of that for the salary cap, and the top players are going to get more. Even the bottom players are going to get more. But, it's just that you're gonna say, well, 85 million. Yeah, I feel I feel a twinge in my knee, or my back is hurting, or I got a paper cut, or uh, you know, all the BS that they give you. So, but I just think if you did end up doing, if you have the trainers as NBA issued trainers, this shit would stop real fast. But that's just me, and I'm probably wrong. So be it. So, one thing I did see here today, and hopefully he will be okay. Um, and this is just adding to the NBA talk here. Um, Greg Popovich missed 6 games Uh, apparently, the reason why he was not on the bench is because he is recovering from what the team called a mild stroke on November 2nd. He missed the past 6 games, what the team originally had called an undisclosed medical episode. The Spurs provided a diagnosis and update on his status on Wednesday, saying the coach suffered the stroke at the team's arena. Popovich has started a rehabilitation program and expected to make a full recovery. Um, General Manager Brian Wright said that there's no timeline for his return, but Popovich is doing well. Um, Mitch Johnson is serving as the Spurs acting head coach throughout Popovich's absence. He will coach the Spurs for the foreseeable future, according to Shams Charania of ESPN. So, um, yeah, and the general manager puts it right, says it correctly here. It's not one person's job to fill Pop's shoes in this moment. It's a village, and so as I said, we're all bonded together. So, but yeah, I did see that today. That was announced that he did suffer a mild stroke. Hopefully he will be okay. Um, you know, I mean, I know that we have um, a couple of coaches in the NBA who have been political, um, outspokenly critical of certain things in politics, and Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich. There's a few others as well, probably that I can't think of off the top of my head, but you know, put the politics aside, and let's just hope that Popovich will be okay and have a long life ahead of him. I mean, even though he is 75, he has had a full life, but hoping for many more years of Pop, even if it's just away from the game. But you get the idea. So hopefully he'll be okay. Um, Before I get to my next story, um, you know, no, I'm gonna wait till I finish the story because I don't want to go from that story that I just mentioned um, to um, doing a thing for doing an ad here. But anyways, I saw this today. Actually, I saw it last week. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but Diego Pavia, or maybe pronounced Pavia, we'll go with Pavia for now, and if I'm wrong, so be it. Um, he sued for a temporary restraining order for added eligibility. Um, that waiver was denied today by a judge. I'll tell you all about that here. A federal judge on Tuesday denied Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia's request for a temporary restraining order that would grant him another year of eligibility, but the judge also did not close the matter entirely. So they are going. It's still going to be worked on here. So he sued the NCAA in federal court Friday in Nashville, arguing that his 2 seasons played at a junior college shouldn't count towards his Division I eligibility since he was unable to profit from his name, image, and likeness during this time. Get the. I mean, what's next? I played at a D3 school, or I played a junior. I mean, it's crazy what they're the excuses that they come up with. But some details are involved with this here. Um, Pavia's attorney argued that he would suffer immediate and irreparable harm without relief from the court because the transfer portal opens on December 9th, and that waiting even one more day will place him behind a rock and a hard place in regards to negotiating an NIL deal at Vanderbilt or transferring to another school. Now, but the thing is, this is why, this is why, I mean, we're still in this Wild West period of NIL because, it's like, instead of $100 handshake or what, like on the Dan Patrick show, they talk about how they would give a recruit a McDonald's bag full of money. Um, you do have, it's more on the up and up now, but still, you're paying these guys, you're paying these guys for, um, you're paying these guys for basically coming to your school. And I don't think NIL was meant to be like this, but this is what they've had to do to recruit players to their school. But um, Chief Judge William Campbell of U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Tennessee wrote in his ruling, given the plaintiff has almost certainly been aware of the challenged bylaws and the ineligibility to play college football in the 25-26 season for quite some time, and has been discussing possible resolution with the NCAA, the court is not persuaded with an ex parte order is justified. That is particularly the case here where the plaintiff seeks prospective injunctive relief, not merely preservation of the status quo. So basically, he's just looking for an extra year here because, oh, you weren't good enough, or the coaches didn't know who you were, or maybe you were whatever. But whatever it is, he he was a, I mean, but this is going to open another can of worms here because, but the thing is, if you're good enough to get into the NFL, and we don't know, um, we don't know what is planned. We don't know what the mock drafts are saying about him. The thing is, those top players who will go pro after 3 years, they're not looking for an extra year of NIL money because guess what? They'll get the real NIL money. That's called a real paying job in the NFL, and they'll get 4, 5, 6, 10 million, whatever they slot into when they get drafted in the NFL with the rookie salary cap. So is he admitting that he's not good enough to play in the NFL? That's what it sounds like to me. He's just looking for a little bit of extra money because, oh, by the way, I didn't. Nobody picked me up in D1 football. Because after a while, you got to realize that you know it, it's basically you're basically going to say, well, because all of a sudden we found out you were good, we have to reward you with another year. No, no. And the only reason why he gets a fifth year, I believe, and I'll correct myself if that's the case, but I believe we're starting to get to the end of those that were um, granted an extra year of eligibility because of COVID. So we'll see what it will. We may have a couple of stragglers that get a sixth year because of COVID and red shirts and stuff like that. But you just it just seems like this is total BS here. Um, Now, Judge Campbell did write in his order that he would set an expedited briefing schedule and a hearing on a request for a preliminary injunction, which would give the NCAA an opportunity to defend its rules. Now, the one thing is that even Pavia doesn't realize col- uh, junior college is not NCAA. You can make an argument if you were D3 or D2, but you weren't even in NCAA. It's kind of like um, I'll dig a little bit further here. Many of you don't know this, but there is a division of college sports. There is a governing body called the NAIA, and this is basically small college institutions. And over time, it has shrunk to mostly the Midwest. I think it stretches out to the West and I think down south too. But for the most part, it is mostly the Midwest, and it's all small college schools. And it used to be in the Philadelphia area as well because um, Alvernia, Misericordia, um, Newman, Holy Family Pharmacy, which isn't around anymore. Um, they were all NAIA schools that played in this area. Wilmington, you know, but they weren't under the NCAA rules. They were under their own set of rules and had their own set of championships. So, you know, I don't know what the rules were with paying athletes there, even back when I was in college there, but there are different rules for NCAA and NAIA, kind of like there is a different set of rules for junior college and NCAA. And the fact that he was, he would have more of an argument if he was at an NCAA D3 school than he has if with the fact that he went to junior college for 2 years. Plain simple, because you weren't in an NCAA school, you were in a junior college. And in my opinion, that's where I would just say, case dismissed. Suck it, you lose. You lose. Good day, sir. Um, Now, Pavia's attorney told the Tennessean, which is a newspaper in Nashville, that the quarterback was disappointed but not surprised that the judge went to allow the NCAA to defend its position. Well, yeah, they deserve to defend their position, even though, in a lot of ways, we do not want to defend the NCAA, but you have to realize that, you know, if you're not in the NCAA, then it's just like it would be like, let's say I'm working at McDonald's. I'm making 12, 13, 15, whatever minimum wage is in their parlance. Now, I'm not talking about minimum wage with um, minimum wage within the state that you live in, but because like for example, um, different stores, especially you should be seeing it right now if you go to the likes of Target, Walmart, and even grocery stores, where they'll say, well, we will you will be starting if you get hired at 14, 15, $16 an hour, for example. So if that's the case, you know if I'm making 10 at McDonald's, we're just use round numbers here that are simple to, and I get a job at Walmart or I go to Target for 15 an hour, they're not going to pay me back pay because I'm stuck flipping burgers at McDonald's. Same thing applies here, in my opinion. Because you're not under NCAA rules, you lose. Good day, sir. But but the thing is, um, Voltaire, what up, man? How's it going there? But when you look at this case, I think it's pretty cut and dry. You weren't in an NCAA school. You're in a junior college. Um, Now, the lawsuit says that junior college transfers face eligibility restrictions that are not placed on athletes who choose to delay entry into Division One NCAA college football to attend prep school, serve in the military, or even compete professionally in another sport. Okay, but the thing is, like for example, one thing that you don't know, and this applies more to college basketball than it does to college football. Um, oh, cool. Yeah, Voltaire's watching. He's listening to the show. I should say listen. Uh, he has a show on for his drive home from work. Hopefully, it's a safe ride home. Um, but the thing is, I know this came up in college basketball last year. If you're a foreign student, you don't get NIL. I don't know why that is, but it's just a fact. Uh, yeah, actively listening. There you go. Because I know, for example, and he is on Twitch, right? Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I forget the reasoning behind it, Voltaire, but international players do not get NIL. But the thing is, you know, I mean, the argument of prep school, military, professional in another sport, okay, I can see that, but you're still in an actual college. It's just that it's a junior college. That's where I have the issue because if he wins this case, this is going to open up, for example, D3 and D2 because I don't think they get them, but if they do get NIL, it's like this much compared to what they get in D1 sports. So, um, but Pavia's led Vanderbilt to a surprising 6-4 record this year. He played it 2 seasons at New Mexico Military Institute, which is a 2-year junior college, and 2 more at New Mexico State before transferring to Vanderbilt. So that's where, because he is already a 5-year player, it doesn't say anything about a red shirt here. It doesn't say, I think that he was, I think he gets that extra year because he was playing in 2020, even though the college football season ended. They still gave the football players an extra year because of the fact that, um, well, if you give the baseball players an extra year, you got to give all the spring students and winter students. Well, we can't give 2/3 of the sports an extra year and not give the other thirds. That's why they got that 5th year, even though they may not have deserved it. Um, but um, the thing is, he does have an argument with prep schools, but that's in that area where it gets a little gray, and that's why a judge has to determine this. But if you serve in the military, that is a little questionable as well because you have the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. They have teams in NCAA, so a little shaky ground there, in my opinion. But that's why I'm glad I'm not a lawyer because you know I mean, even if you know that you're not going to win, you got to bullshit it for your players. So, um, but yeah, but competing professionally in another sport, well, you play baseball, yeah, you don't need the NIL money probably, but that was an interesting story that came up here, and it's just I just don't agree with. I mean, I agree with the judge, um, but He's just doing it for the NIL. He's just doing it for the money, and that's the sad state of affairs in the United States, where everything is for this. It's all about the money. So, but let's say you want to bet on that. You want to bet on that. Let me go back over here for a second. Let's say you want to wager on the next Vanderbilt game, either betting on Vanderbilt or fading them. You can go right to Rebet. And I'm going to share the link in our chat here. And you have a 100% match up to $100. And, you know, it's a fun app. It's a social sports betting app. You can follow your friends with their picks that they make. And also, you know, you can follow me even there at Joe Quills. I'm 2-0 this week. I played 2 games on Tuesday. Um, Won both of them. I gave out St. Joe's on the money line. I gave out Drexel minus actually last night, and I had Drexel plus 9.5. They only lost by 8. That was a winner. So, and you know, if you take advantage of this, if you take advantage of this promotion, you'll get 100% match up to $100. The code to use is Bleacher, Bleacher, all in caps. And once you make that initial deposit, boom, that 100 becomes 200. That 50 becomes 100. They will give you a 100% match. And it is a social um, sports book. It's available in most states. Must be 18 and older to use the app. And uh, also, um, 1-800 Gamble if you have a gambling problem. And also, the great feature that they do have here is they will facilitate head to head wagers. Let's say Voltaire does not like my pick. He can challenge me in a head to head wager. Rebet will facilitate that wager. And at the end of the day, at the end of the game, there's no fees. The money that you wager goes directly to that person that won the wager. Um, and, um, and yeah, so check out the app. The link is there. I am going to check something for you here, Voltaire. Um, Let me go here. I'm going to pull up something here as well. So 1 second. Um, nah, it won't let me. Damn it. I got to tell AJ about that. But you can check those. You can, I think this is the link here. Um, yeah, if you go to Bleacher Brothers page on Facebook, I think that's the link here. Hopefully that's the link. That you can check to see if Rebet is available in your state. And I was checking it a couple of weeks ago for a friend, and it is available in their state. And I believe it may be available in California, Voltaire, but um, at least it was the last I checked. But things can change quickly. But it is available right now, and take advantage of that promotion. 100% match up to $100. So, and well, while I'm at it, I might as well tell you about Also Eligible. That is our horse racing show here on Bleacher Brothers, and I will be doing it live Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And you know, we talk about some of the big races that come up every week, and good thing I looked at the Daily Racing Forum website because I have the races in mind for this Saturday show. We're going to look at the Claiming Crown races at Churchill Downs. And basically, what the Claiming Crown is, it is a event for your regular run-of-the-mill horses that do not get the spotlight. They don't get the Triple Crown glory or anything like that, but they do get an opportunity to see who's the best in their class. And they have eight, nine, 10 different classes of races, and on the dirt, on the turf, sprint, route, you name it, they have it in there. And it's an opportunity to give your horses that uh, are your blue collar workers. They are the ones that will get you. They're the ones that will be. Um, they are the ones that are the ones that a lot of people forget about. It. It's their day to shine. So that's what I will. That's what I'm looking at right now for Saturday on Also Eligible, and that is on the Bleacher Brothers networks, the Bleacher Brother platforms as well. So I do have one bit of a complaint right now, and I should have said this at the beginning of the show, but I was rambling about different things here. But I do want to say one thing. For however many years it's been in a row, I have been denied my rightful place as People's Magazine's sexiest man alive. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this. And I know what People Magazine was saying when I know what People Magazine was saying when I put in my application for Sexiest Man Alive for 2024.
Who the fuck is that guy?
But it is what it is. So, um, and I'm probably not even the sexiest man of Twitch or YouTube or anything like that. Whatever. I could use the ego boost and a little bit of, uh, little bit of, little ego boost. But it is what it is. But tongue in cheek. But anyways, um, I did see this story here, and you know what goes on in Aaron Rodgers' head, who knows? And maybe he is thinking about retirement, but he was on the Pat McAfee show. He said that he wants to play in 2025. Now, I did not see this interview. Uh, Probably this was an interview that I should have seen if they're going to talk about something like this, but um, he said on Wednesday, I think so. Yeah. And I think that seeing this in text doesn't tell me if he's questioning coming back, if he's coming back and playing coy, whatever. But just to see him, I mean, just to see it in text, I don't get a feel for it. And even if I did get a feel for it, I guarantee you that I'm way off. And I've been wrong on many different things in my life. So, it is what it is. But um, Rich Samini of ESPN said, it wasn't a resounding yes, but perhaps because he knows that organizational changes in the offseason could impact his decision. Yeah, it could be that his boy Jeff Hackett gets fired because he's technically the offensive coordinator, even though he doesn't do play calling duties anymore. At least I don't think he's doing them anymore because he did have it stripped from him, but I don't know if they gave it back to him or not. But um, Now he did say last offseason they hope to play 2 or 3 or 4 more seasons. But I think, but you're 39 years old, 40 years old, 39 years old when you blew out your Achilles. You know, it's tough for somebody who's 19 to rehab from an Achilles injury, let alone 39. or even 49. But um, but he's been battling hamstring, knee, and ankle injuries, but hasn't missed any snaps because of injury. Now, the one thing I haven't paid attention, and I probably should have, so let me give myself another one of those because I can. The question that I have is whether or not paying attention is expensive. Well, it's also time consuming, and I do have a real job. But seriously, um, um, but the one thing I would say is, and Voltaire agrees that it's time consuming. Um, is it the one question I have is, and of course, I don't know many Jets fans or anything like that, or even Jets haters or Aaron Rodgers haters. The one question I would have is, were the ankle, knee, and hamstring injuries, were they all on the same leg? That's a question I would have because I know my personal experience. I didn't have a, I didn't have an Achilles tear. Um, well, I think we're finding out Salah wasn't the problem. Voltaire says, well, at least they can blame Salah, and he's joking around. But I get the idea. I know you're joking around, um, but um, but I tore my calf muscle, and I strained my calf a couple of weeks prior. We had a snowfall, and I walked to the store wherever it was, and and that was early in the morning on a Saturday morning, and Saturday night, I'm doing something around the house because I was still at my old house at the time. And I said, why does my calf hurt? Now, mind you, it was snow and sleet. So the snow and the sleet that was accumulating was very loose and, feet are sliding all over the place. So I did have that strain. So I was careful with it for a couple of weeks. And also, not that big of a deal. But I um I was on my way home, and I would take the train to and from work to the office at Redacted Company, which is across the street from I Love Massage on North 9th Street in Philadelphia. Um, I probably outed my company with that, but who cares? But I'm making fun of I Love Massage. But um, so I go running for the train, and now here, I mean, this is typical Philly. So the train line is called the Market Frankfurt L, but in that area of the city, it goes underground and is a subway train. So part of the city, it's a subway train, and part of the city, it's above ground. So, L for elevated, but it's still just because of everything with Center City and all that, it's actually underground. So I go running for the train because I want to get home. And, the way that I am, I'm like, well, if this connects to that and this connects to that, I'll be home by 5 o'clock. So I go running up these stairs because, the way that the station is set up, I would get the the on the side of the street where my building is on, but I'd have to cross this overpass that goes over the train tracks to the side of the train that I'm on, that I need to get on to go home. So I go up the 3 stairs, and all of a sudden, pop, and I felt it right away. And I limped to the limped to the limped to the platform, got on the train, limped home, then went to urgent care. And the reason why I'm asking is I'm going on this tangent here, but it does make sense if you think about it. The reason why I'm asking, um, is it all the same leg is when I tore my calf muscle. Was this, was it the same leg? Because when I went to the urgent care, they checked the calf, but they also checked my Achilles to make sure I didn't tear that as well because everything's connected. So I wonder, is it anything, I'm wondering if it's all the same leg. You can argue that everything is connected and maybe he just didn't rehab enough. But, but we don't know what Aaron Rodgers was doing, but, it is what it is. So Voltaire's asking me, how long was I injured? Let's see. I was feeling the effects for like 2 to 3 months. Um, I was on crutches for a week. I had a ace bandage wrapped on my calf for like 3, 4 weeks, and I could still feel it tugging weeks after. So, but thankfully, I wasn't, um, I wasn't running. I don't do any running things, but um, but yeah, it did bother me for quite a while, and I did my own home rehab, certain things to strengthen the calf, but but it's that's why I ask about Aaron Rodgers and all these injuries he's having this year because if it's all the same leg, you can argue that the Achilles is connected to the ankle, connected to the calf, connected to the knee, and everything you could say, well, one leads to another, you're compensating, or you can argue even if it's the other leg, because a lot of times you compensate for one injury and you end up with a second injury because you pull something else because you pulled something and you're trying to compensate for that original injury. So, but you do have all that, but I just wonder if the injuries that he has are the same leg or not because I don't remember what leg he blew out. I thought it was his left one, but um, but um, yeah. And Voltaire mentions how Tim Duncan had that knee injury and the plantar fasciitis made it so much worse, and his availability started to go down. But also, he was also with Greg Popovich, and Popovich didn't give a shit about the regular season. He was worried about the playoffs. Playoffs? He was worried about the playoffs and making sure his players were ready to go once the postseason started. That's why we have load management even now. But Popovich had a reason for it, but it's just that everybody's exploiting what Popovich did now. But and I did mention the news about Greg Popovich suffering a mild stroke at the beginning of the month. There's no timetable for his return right now, but he is going through rehab right now. Now Rodgers is under contract for 2025, but none of the compensation is guaranteed at this point. Yeah, he had a mild stroke. He missed 6 games, but they did not say why until today. Um, I don't know if Popovich gave the okay to mention it, because remember, we have HIPAA laws in the United States, and if I say Voltaire has whatever illness or whatever malady, and he doesn't want it released, that's a HIPAA violation. You have a right to privacy. So, I think, now that he's about 10 days removed, maybe, maybe his speech is better. If there's any issues, whatever he's doing, however he's doing, he probably said, yeah, you can mention it. Because you could just argue, oh, it's just a viral thing that he has, and he's going to be coming back soon. Well, no, it's more serious than that. He had a stroke, so I guess he gave I guess he gave the okay to mention it, so that's probably why. But um, but going back to Aaron Rodgers, he is under contract for next year. None of his compensation is guaranteed at this point. The Jets would have to exercise a $35 million option bonus. He also has a base $2.5 million salary, um, and his cap hit would be a manageable 23.5 million. So it's not like, for example, Russell Wilson costing Denver about 100 million in salary cap. Um, and we sat here the one night last year, and we were going through different guys here, and I was like, well, you know, I think because we were talking about Kyler Murray and these other quarterbacks that they were rumored to teams were rumored to want to get rid of. Thankfully, Arizona didn't, because they're in contention for the West right now. Um, Kyler Murray's hit was higher than Russell Wilson's. Um, but but he did. But he's under contract, and Roger feels like his new coach Jeff Ulbrich is doing good things. Um, Rodgers, for the first time in his 20-year career, has been 100% supportive of his entire staff and team in getting things fixed, according to Ulbrich. But I think maybe he's uh, maybe just appeasing to um, Rodgers' ego. Um, Arizona is indeed playing well. Some of the salty Rams radio personality call Kyler Call of Duty. Yeah, we were joking. I mean, even I joked around that when the new Call of Duty came out, it's like, all right, we'll see how into Call of Duty he is. We'll see if he's studying. But Voltaire had a question about Joel Embiid. We did talk about him earlier, and yeah, I have no problem talking about certain things here, and even going back on certain things. Voltaire asked, Embiid last night also left the game less than 3 minutes in, didn't he? No, he played. How many minutes? Well, he shot 2 for 13, so he had a very bad night shooting. He played, uh, and this is why I don't helicopter my news stories across the room, because if I do that, I have to get up, look for the story, look for the exact page and shit like that. But he played 26 minutes in the loss. Um, he was 2 for 11 with 13 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds. So, but but he did say today, even though he didn't play tonight, that he wants to play some back to backs now. He said, "Well, I'm a troll," and I think it's also the fact that the NBA hit the Sixers with, I think it was like $100,000 fine, maybe more than that. And this is the same stuff that he went through when he was um, playing in his rookie year, and I'm using finger quotes here again, because he wanted to play more than the 20 minutes, the 24 minutes, whatever they said at the beginning of the process of getting him through these games in his rookie and second year, finger quotes. And I say finger quotes because um, they sat Ben Simmons for a year, they sat Joel Embiid for 2 years, and because you didn't play a game in the NBA, you're still considered a rookie even if you don't play for 3 years. Um, like for example, Arvydas Sabonis, he finally came over to the United States in his 30s, even though he played in Russia or whatever European country for 10, 15 years. He was still considered an NBA rookie because it was his first year in the NBA. But you know, but you know, I just think that Joel Embiid, how I'm reading it, and I may be reading it totally wrong, and I will admit when I'm wrong. Um, I feel like it may be influenced by the NBA because they did get the Sixers for um, not playing Embiid or not being truthful with his injury or whatever the reasoning was behind it. I forget what it was now, but I think he's saying, well, maybe I do want to play these games. And I think it's also because the team is now 1-10. Um, um, I'm sorry, the Sixers are 2-9. Who else did they beat? Oh, they beat the Charlotte Hornets. Okay. So they are, and yes, Sabonis, because it was the Cold War and everything, and sometimes you draft a player from Europe and you stash them away for a year or two. They've done that from time to time. Um, uh, yeah, he was an absolute talent of a big man. I agree, and I would have had Cleveland at 2-9, the Sixers undefeated. If you would have asked me preseason predictions, yeah. I mean, now it did not help that Paul George tweaked his knee in preseason. And the Sixers were not going to get questioned about Paul George's injury right before the start of the season. He wasn't going to be questioned because you had video footage of him hyperextending his knee and having that bone bruise or whatever the diagnosis was. With Embiid, he played in the Olympics, probably was still not 100%, thought that, he had a couple of months off, which I'm glad that he had the couple of months off because guess what? Got to rest up for the Olympics, and the Olympics are an important thing here. Now, granted, other countries they are more their players want to play in the Olympics more than the United States do, in my opinion. Um, but um, but you do have I just think a lot of it is I think because we didn't have proof of injury from September to October, and also the way that these teams do practices now, they only let you in for like 5, 10 minutes at a time. I mean, the NFL does that where, okay, well, you get 5 minutes to take your shots with the team, then get the fuck out. But, um, but, uh, but allegedly, the reason why he was out had nothing to do with the knee. It had to do with the fact that he got himself out of shape for 2 months. And okay, you won a gold medal for the U.S. You got a kid. You got this. You got that. I think that you've been around the league enough to know, even if you do take a couple of weeks off and start a couple of weeks later than what you normally would, I think that you should start ramping shit up because guess what? You have an NBA season. You're making 50, $60 million a year. And and Maxi, yeah, he's got a hamstring pull. He's out for a couple of weeks here. Hopefully he gets back here because the one thing is with the Sixers, they may be that team that you don't want to face in the first round of the tournament if they get in. If you're a team in the East, you might be a team that says, well, let's hope they don't make it. Oklahoma City will. Oklahoma City is praying that they don't make the playoffs. Now, granted, the draft pick in 2025 is protected for top six, I believe. So if the Sixers do not end up top six in the NBA draft lottery, that pick will go to Oklahoma City. So you do have that hanging overhead of the Sixers and Oklahoma City because you don't plan for a season like this. Where Maxi got hurt, Embiid we don't know, and I may I may do a prop on Joel Embiid tomorrow night if it's available on the when I do my Philly fade for the weekend. And I'm going to do an NFL pick tonight as well since the Eagles play. Um, but he is going to be rusty. I understand that, and I think you know when Paul George and Embiid and Maxi play together, now you're going to have to give them time to get used to each other. But that could be the second half team where I do not want to face them. And if they do find a way to get into the playoffs, that's definitely a team I don't want to face. Now, is the franchise curse and they going to lose in the first round like they did last year to the Knicks? Probably. And, I wouldn't be surprised if Embiid says, can I go to another team so I can win a championship and retire? Because, the window's closing on Embiid. He's got a few years left, but it doesn't look like he's going to win it here. And it sucks because, us Philly fans want to see all our Philly teams win. It doesn't matter if it's the Phillies, the Flyers, the Sixers, the Eagles. And I hate that everybody thinks that the Eagles are a Super Bowl contender right now. I just want to say, not yet. I mean, we're still, I'm still scarred from last year. I was telling people, even though it was in fun, I was joking around saying to a couple of friends that are outside the city, I'll save you a spot on the parade route. Well, we saw what happened with the Eagles last year. Um, and it just sucked that you went from 10-1. You had all this chaos in the locker room and the coaching staff, and I think that they got everything under control. And Voltaire's hoping the Sixers open a can of whoop ass on the Celtics. Yeah, me too. I don't think it's happening. Definitely not with the team that they have right now. Especially if it's a back end of a home and home and it's not on national TV. Um, if you think about the Eagles are a couple of plays and mishaps from being undefeated. Eh, well, the Atlanta game, that shouldn't have happened. That gave us flashbacks of last year. But I'll tell you what, and you know, it was a perfect storm, so to speak. It was right after that hurricane, the first hurricane that hits southwestern Florida. Not Milton, but the other one. But you know what I mean. That went up the coast. Um, and then went up to North Carolina and all that shit. Um, and it was a hot day. It was like in the mid 90s that day, and the NFL didn't do the Eagles any favors. They made them play a 1 o'clock. They scheduled it as a 1 o'clock game in Tampa Bay, and it's real hot. And the home team can choose what uniforms they want to wear. So let's say the Eagles on opening day at home, like for example, Eagles were the home team down in Brazil. They chose to wear their white uniforms with the black pants, probably buying into the bullshit about the green being banned in that stadium. It was a soccer thing. It wasn't a football thing. So the Eagles, they kind of bought into it. They wore the white uniforms in their technically home game in Brazil. Um, but a lot of what you see, you know, Dallas traditionally wears white at home. I don't know how it started, but except for a game here or there, for whatever reason, they've always worn white at home. Washington, um, especially up until the Joe Gibbs era when he was there the first time, he the Redskins wore white with burgundy pants at home, even in the dead cold. Um, but you'll see Miami, they do the same thing as Tampa because they're in South Florida and it gets really hot and humid and the sun beats down. Guess what? We're going to make you wear your dark uniforms, make you feel uncomfortable for 3 hours. And, I mean, you could have had the Eagles 3-0 and world beaters, and you could have had all the players back. You could have had nobody injured for that game. They were not beating Tampa that day. Because the one thing I will tell you is sometimes I give you picks that you may think make 0 sense, X's and O's wise, and I'm not X's and O's all the time. I will tell you these intangible things like, oh, it's 95 degrees and the Eagles got to wear their dark green uniforms. Guess what? Very uncomfortable. And also everybody was hurt. Jalen Hurts had 0 weapons. And, it was a perfect storm. It also was the week before the bye week. And usually a lot of times the Eagles teams, they go in the toilet that week before the bye. So everything was screaming a loss, and I did take Tampa Bay that week, and it was a winner for me. Voltaire here's that Jalen Hurts has the attention, the locker room respect right now. I think he always did. Um, I think now I know that there was stories about a rift between him and Nick Sirianni, and I think part of it was the fact that he did have his boy as the offensive coordinator last year. Okay, and we found out that his boy didn't do shit. Wasn't that good of an offensive coordinator. Apparently, he's doing well with Washington, and he comes in tomorrow night to the link. Um, but I think one thing that really helps helps morale within the team and camaraderie within the team. One thing cures all problems, and that's winning. And the one thing I've always said about Jalen Hurts is I don't need him to throw for 300 yards. I don't need him to run for 75. I don't need him to score 3 touchdowns on tush pushes. Just find a way to win the game. Now, am I calling him a system quarterback by saying that? Probably. The thing is, and this is true of most teams, but we're criticizing Patrick Mahomes for having a down year this year, but still being 9-0. His individual stats aren't that good. Trust me, I know I have him on one of my fantasy football teams. Um, the numbers are nice, but the only number that you should worry about at the end of the day is the number of wins versus the number of losses. And Jalen Hurts is 7-2 this year. Well, not Jalen Hurts himself, but you get the idea. The Eagles are 7-2. And I would not be surprised. Now, I'm being cautiously optimistic here because we know what happened last year. And personally, I think Jalen Hurts had a worse knee injury than he was letting on last year. Because if you remember the Miami game last year, he hurt his knee running out of bounds, and he actually missed a play or two or something like that. But I think that knee was bothering him all year. Um, I just think a lot of what they do, I just think that little by little, everything was falling apart, and you had a defensive coordinator that was not a people person, so everything blew up on the Eagles. Um, I think we that the Eagles do have a good shot. I do think that they have a damn good offensive coordinator, a damn good defensive coordinator, and the defense is performing. And the one thing I say it every couple of weeks, and I use it against the Eagles when the other team has the ball for most of the half, like Cincinnati when they had the ball for 11 minutes straight to start the game. Um, I think it was like 18-5 at one point for time of possession in that game in Cincinnati. One thing I said was Cincinnati is doing what the Eagles need to do to win. And what I personally believe, especially with this type of team that the Eagles have, even though they have the weapons and they can score one play, boom, to AJ Brown, to Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goddard. You pick the guy, they can probably take the house easily. But then again, you can argue most guys in the NFL can do that. Well, except for Dallas Cowboys and Jonathan Mingo, but that's another thing. But a lot of what they do, the way that the Eagles are, they will pound the ball. Sometimes your best defense is a ball control offense. The less that you have to exert energy on the field, stopping the other team from scoring will help you in the long run. And I think that's why in the second half they just wear down these other teams. It reminds me of 2 years ago, and maybe 2 years ago with the Niners, maybe the Lions are the 2022, or the Lions are the 2022 Niners. Who knows? But you're looking at you're looking at a team here that I'm cautiously optimistic on because of last year. You're 10-1, Super Bowl dreams, a rematch with the Chiefs, revenge for the Chiefs, a parade on the Strip before you parade on Broad Street. All went to shit because the defense went under. But I think that this draft was a very solid draft with DeJean and Mitchell, and you know it's amazing that Howie Roseman did a hell of a draft. And I think that also when the trade deadline was coming up last week, I think that they saw. I really think, now I don't know, maybe totally off here, but I wouldn't be surprised because Howie Roseman hasn't made a deadline deal trade the last 2 years. I would not be surprised if NFL GMs around the country took a look at their caller IDs on their cell phones or business phones, whatever, and they're seeing 215, 267, 445, 610, 484, the 5 area codes that are in this area. They took a look and, oh, fuck no. We're not taking this call. Kind of like how Dan Patrick was saying today, uh, or actually, he was saying it back in June because I was listening to a podcast from June when they were talking about Jerry West. Because I was listening to the podcast of the day that Jerry West passed away, or it was announced that he passed away. You knew it was Jerry West on the phone. You didn't want to answer because you knew you were getting fleeced. And Howie Roseman has fleeced many a teams in the draft and at the regular season trade deadline. It's just at the last 2 years he hasn't done that. Now I don't know if it's nobody wants to trade with him or the Eagles don't have the collateral, the capital to match what teams want. There could be many different reasons, um, but I'm excited for this Eagles team. I'm starting to get excited for this team. Now, granted, um, did I? I'm trying to remember who I picked in September. I think I picked the Eagles, but I just think that I think maybe it's because I do these shows 4 nights a week that I was I'm doing the same thing I said with the Phillies, being cautiously optimistic. Now once in a while I'll joke around to somebody and say, hey, I'll save you a spot on Broad Street in February. I may say that, but if you really know me and you really know that I have a sense of humor, I joke around with stuff like that. Yeah, I'm going to joke around. I'm going to say certain things, but but I'm cautiously optimistic for this team, and hopefully there's another deep run. Hopefully there's another trip to the Super Bowl, and hopefully there's another Super Bowl championship because I think Nick Sirianni winning a Super Bowl will shut up all his doubters forever. I really do. And we'll see what happens with that in the coming weeks with the Eagles. So now one last story here before I get to the NFL pick for tomorrow night. Um, the NCAA president hinted today that the March Madness field could expand. Now, I'm a proponent of expanding the field. And my argument is this: when the NCAA went from 48, 51, whatever the number was in 1984, to 64 teams in 1985, there were only 250 to 260 schools in Division 1. So you're talking about a quarter of the schools in Division 1 making the tournament. So now with 68 teams, and let's say even those schools that are quote unquote ineligible because they are um, well, actually, I can tell you exactly how many teams are in D1 this year. Let me go over here to ncaa.com. Sports, basketball, rankings. Okay, so there are 362 teams in Division 1 right now, according to ncaa.com. So, and let me see something here. I do want to see one thing here. See if the article. Um, there were 53 teams for the 1984 tournament. Um, There were, well, this article I'm looking at doesn't tell me. So, um, um, and I apologize for those who are, okay, yeah, so I'd have to count these. I'd have to count the standings here because I do see the standings for the 1983-84 season here. So, so you do have all these schools that were. So I think it was about 250. So just for the sake of argument right now, um, um, yeah, it doesn't tell me. So just for the just for the sake of argument and numbers, let's just say 250 in 250 in 1985. So 20 about 25% get into the tournament. So at 362, 18% get in. So it's harder to get into the tournament. But you also have the possibility of a team getting in at 3 and 26 or whatever. Now, I'm personally a proponent of expanding the 96 teams. So just imagine this: 4 days of wall-to-wall action for 12 or 13 hours. I think as a sports fan, I'm ready for that. And Vegas would be batshit crazy with the sports books and everything. And the sports books around the country would be like that too. But um, NCAA president Charlie Baker was on the Dan Patrick show today, and he was asked about possibility of reaching 96 teams in the tournament at some point, and that was promptly shut down. An expansion is definitely possible and probably likely, but the tournament would just add 4 or 8 teams to the fold. So you're talking about 72 to 74 teams. The most will ever go is somewhere in the 70s. The calendar is very limited in how many games we can slam into a period of time. And the thing is, they start on the first Monday in November, so you have 4.5 months, and they only play 30 some games, so it's not like you're playing 60, 70 games. But so there is a possibility of going to 72 to 76 teams in the future. Baker noted the committee has some work to do in order to make it happen. It's unclear how the NCAA would make 72 or 76 teams work in a tournament, especially since 4 teams already are eliminated during playing games before the official start of the round of 64. However, Yahoo Sports' Ross Dellinger reported in the summer that the round of 64 format would remain, meaning any expansions would increase the number of playing games. The same report mentioned expansion could occur for the 25-26 season. And since we're in a Title IX area, what you do for the men, you do for the women, so you have to expand for both. Now, Here's why I would go with 96. Now, I'm a glutton for useless information. And I will tell you right now, I'm looking at I I watch every year for some unknown reason. I look at the NIT brackets and I watch the NIT selection show as well. And I also look up the CBI, CIT, Elemental P, whatever tournaments they are. Because part of the reason why is you do have these other tourneys that run in, and Fox is doing their own tournament, I believe, this year. Let me just check one thing here. And I'm going on Wikipedia here as well. Um, and I'm looking here. Because I'm pretty sure Fox has a tournament that they're going to have in the off season, in the postseason. Um, but I don't see any mention of it right now. So I'm pretty sure that Fox is going to have a postseason tournament this year. So that's going to eat away at some of these other tournaments that are out there, the CBI, the CIT, and the NIT. Now, the NIT, if you don't know, is owned by the NCAA. They bought the rights of the tournament a while back. Um, and the NCAA took control of the NIT tournament in 2005. So they've been in control for 20 years now. But what is happening now is that teams are mostly saying, "Screw it! I'm not accepting an invite to your tourney. We'll just we'll just say the season's over." And for some of the kids, if you're a senior or you want to go pro, you don't get that extra game. But I think what you do is you get rid of the NIT tournament because nobody wants to play in it, morph it into the NCAA, and boom, you got a 96 team tournament. There you go. But it's not going to happen. At least they don't think it's going to happen. But 96, I think, is the best way to go. But anyway, so I got one more thing I want to do here, and that is the NFL game tomorrow night. So let me go here. And I will share my screen here. Quick look at the game here. Eagles are 3.5 point favorite tomorrow night. I think the Eagles defense is going to shut down the Commanders. Eagles win that by at least 7. I'll give the 3.5. We'll take the Eagles at -3.5 at -108. That's my pick for tomorrow night. And so that's going to be it for this show. I do appreciate everybody for joining me, Voltaire, Bank Boy, anybody else who's lurking in the distance. So we'll be live again tomorrow night, and we'll have more picks, and we'll have a combination sidecast and regular show here. So it should be an interesting show. So I'm going to call it a night. Do appreciate everybody for joining me, and I will see you in the winner's circle. So catch you tomorrow right here on the Joe Quill Show, part of Bleacher Brothers Network, bleacherbrothers.com for all your sports needs.